join me as I am thrown into the wild and confronted by a skinwalker? Will I come out unscathed or become a statistic? I walked alone through the cold, dark winter night, feeling the chill seep into my bones. In just a flash, I was grabbed by strangers hidden in the shadows. They bound my hands and kicked me, tossing me into the trunk of a car. I had no idea where they were taking me, but it felt like hours of driving deeper into the woods, far away from any hint of civilization. Then abruptly, they pulled me out and tossed me onto the ground by the side of the road. My jacket was ripped off, leaving me vulnerable to the bitter cold. As I lay there, I could hear wolves howling in the distance, their voices echoing through the black night. I felt the darkness creeping in closer, and chills ran down my spine as I realized I was utterly alone. They'd left me with nothing but a knife, my only chance of getting back to safety and warmth. As the wind howled, the bushes rustled around me, making my heart race. I could feel the cold clawing at my skin, biting like hot coals against my flesh. Panic set in as I shouted for help, but all I heard was the wind. Then suddenly I saw movement in the trees. Fear gripped me and I stumbled through the deep snow, the frigid air burning my lungs. I knelt to the ground, feeling like I might not last much longer in these conditions. But off in the distance, I heard footsteps crunching through the snow, the sound growing nearer. My heart pounded louder with every step, and I struggled to breathe as a low growl filled the air, sending a surge of adrenaline through me. The fear was overwhelming. Should I run? Should I scream? Each passing moment made me feel like I was living in a nightmare. Just then, I felt something cold slither down my spine, and I jumped up, turning around to face whatever was behind me. My breath was shallow, and I was terrified to see what was there, the knife gripped tightly in my hand. I squinted into the darkness, and slowly, I saw it. Something stood before me that turned my blood cold. My heart raced like a drumbeat in my chest. The creature had eyes that burned like glowing embers, and its massive frame was something I couldn't comprehend. I felt the air get heavier, and the dread washed over me. It breathed heavily, like it hadn't eaten in days, and I knew I could be its next meal. Frozen with fear, I wondered if I would live to see another day. Then it came closer, savoring my scent, its breath like a gust of wind that chilled me to the bone. I could hardly comprehend how I was supposed to defend myself against such a being, holding just a knife to keep me safe. The ground underneath me felt weak, and as I fell to my knees, I felt myself growing numb from the cold and fear. I felt trapped in the moment, a victim of a nightmarish tale that seemed to have no end. Suddenly, everything went black. I must have fainted because when I woke up, everything around me was confusing. There was a blur, and I couldn't move my arms or legs. Something was binding me. Panic rose again as I realized I wasn't frozen anymore. I couldn't even feel the cold. I tried to take in my surroundings and caught sight of the monster looming over me, uncomfortably close. It inspected me, its skeletal face disturbing yet strangely captivating. Its breath stank of decay, and as it came closer, I couldn't help but feel a sickening blend of terror and fascination. It seemed to study me, brushing its claws over my skin gently, almost as if it was curious rather than hungry. Then, without warning, it grabbed the knife off the ground and began tearing my clothes apart. I cried out, frightened and confused, and soon I was left exposed. Yet oddly, I didn't feel the cold against my skin. For some reason, it didn't bother me. The situation had me reeling, trapped in a nightmare where the lines between terror and something oddly tender began to blur. The creature didn't just seem to want to hurt me. It had a strange desire to possess me in a way I couldn't fully understand. As I lay there, the horror washed over me like waves, but then something strange caught my attention. The creature, despite its monstrous nature, seemed to view me with a sort of longing. It whispered words I couldn't grasp, and suddenly I knew I was part of something much larger than myself. Then, just like that, it changed everything. The monster caressed my skin with a gentleness that felt foreign but pleasant. It embraced me, holding me close as it finished its horrid ritual. As it held me, I felt a warmth begin to stir inside, fighting through the chill.